It is one of the biggest motorsports events in North America. Welcome everyone to the 41st running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach from Long Beach, California. Welcome everyone. The fans are ready, the crew's ready, drivers in their car. Let's move down to the front straightaway for the command to start engines.
Long Beach race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Here's actor Sir Patrick Stewart to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
Doug Mullen and ride behind him for the first stint. Kevin?
Emerson Fittipaldi and Michael Andretti took each other out running 1-2 one year. So the most important thing is have a good pit stop and then have a clear lane out. It's not easy because it's so tight. Brian?
One of the cars that you guys have not spoken about is the car that will lead the field off of pit road, and it is the two-seat Indy car. You can get in on the fastest two-seat Indy car ride you could ever imagine. Don't miss a chance to get in on Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Enter at shophonda.com. Today's lucky winner, Bill Wiseman from Van Nuys, California. You do it by logging on to shophonda.com. Bill won the opportunity to start today's race with Indy 500 champion Mario Andretti. You see Mario on the left. Bill, how's the ride so far? Bill Wiseman, can you hear?
I hear you.
How is it, buddy?
Guys, I gotta tell you, being with one of the greatest race drivers in history is a thrill of my life. Oh yeah, and he's picking up the RPMs. But we got that pace car in front of us, and I'm waiting for him to put the hammer down.
Waiting for Mario to pull the trigger. Well, enjoy, Bill. Enjoy your ride. It's the fastest seat in sports. The Long Beach Grand Prix. This is the 41st running. We'll be back for the green right after this. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by DA Lubricant Company, performance engineered lubricants since 1919. Visit dalube.com. Looking down on the racetrack, we talk about how different it is from NOLA. Take us around, Townsend.
Completely different environment here. It all starts in turn one with a heavy braking zone onto the concrete here at Long Beach, and you can fan out 3 or 4 wide on the start, but it's very narrow at the exit. And then working your way to the back straightaway, turn 9, a very unique corner. Super bumpy on the entry. It's important to keep your apex speed high. A lot of guys will try to run a tighter, taller gear through the apex of turn 9. And then the most unique corner in all of racing, I think, is right here at Long Beach at the hairpin. Turn 11, first gear. They got to be going about 15 miles an hour at the apex, and then you've got to get the power down clean and smooth. If you make a bobble, you can get jumped from behind as you hit Shoreline Boulevard.
Let's take a look at Mother's Polish starting grid. This is how they'll line up. All Penske front row. We've seen that 3 times so far this season. Scott Dixon looking to improve on a season that he has not had a particularly good one. Simon Pagenaud the same way. Joseph Newgarden, impressive all weekend long.
And these two guys on row 4, Rahal and Kanan, good racers, could be strong today.
Bourdais always strong here. Marco's had a good day. We've overshadowed him. We've got Saavedra, first race this year, steps in and does a really good job. Hinchcliffe, last week's winner, and Filippi.
James Hinchcliffe is going to have to find the handle on that car. They're not going to be able to use strategy every weekend. Gabby Chavez will power all the way back in row 9.
Disastrous qualifying for power. He'll be pushing through the field today for sure. Takuma Sato, a former winner, way back there as well. And how about young Connor Daly? Got a call yesterday morning at about 9:30 from Dale Coyne to fill in for the injured Rocky Moran Jr.
Good onboard action for you today as well. On board the 83 with Charlie Kimball, Novolog, and he should bring us some good shots from on board. James Hinchcliffe, the winner last time out at NOLA Motorsports Park, the Lucas Oil on board. You can watch him today. On up to Graham Rahal. Graham Rahal with the Steak and Shake on board. You see him headed down the back straightaway. He has been on it and impressive. Talk about impressive. Tony Kanaan has been impressive throughout the season in the NTT data on board, and Ryan Hunter-Ray, Verizon on board there. He has won here before. He starts 4th and he will be attacking. Hélio Castroneves, the pole sitter. Remember, Verizon streaming, Adrenaline on demand. Download the IndyCar 15 mobile app to get some amazing shots, just like you're about to get from right here at the start. We're about to go green at Long Beach. Castroneves brings the field down, looking for green. They're not aligned very well, but the flag flies and we're
Agreement, hey, let's go early and get this thing strung out and go. But then Montoya had the run and his teammate put the squeeze, and that allowed Dixon to slide up the outside and assume second position.
good jump for Castroneves, able to pull out a little bit. So impressed, though, with Scott Dixon from his third place starting position to pick up a position. The yellow and white, you see Simon Pagenaud flash by. 3 Penske cars in the top 4.
And look at Newgarden and Hunter Ray. They are in a hurry, along with Tony Kanaan in the blue car. They're in a hurry to get by before those leaders get away.
Speaking of Kanaan, they had an impromptu drivers meeting on Friday morning. Oh, it's too wide in the hairpin. That's not going to work very well. But they had a meeting, and all the drivers got together and said, hey, we need to get our act together and get a good race in here. This is the marquee event at Long Beach. We've got to have a good race, and we're off to a good start.
That's exactly what they're doing. As you look a little bit further back, you see the blue of Tony Kanaan, and right behind him, it is Graham Rahal.
Graham Rahal had some concerns in the warm-up today. He's been pretty good all weekend, but he said the car was a handful, maybe just because they were on really old tires. But the biggest concern was how the brakes were locking up. They had just changed before the warm-up. They actually went back to the brakes that they ran earlier in the weekend. He has concerns, though, about those wearing out by the end of the race.
You talk about tires, though, it's important to note the top 10 cars right now, they all started on the red, the alternate tire. They should have good grip, but out for him today. Looking back through the field, waiting for Will Power, and there he is in the black and white #1.
18th, and it can be done to win from that far back. A couple of years ago, actually last year it happened with winning from the 17th position. Mike Conway did that, and some dude named Paul Tracy did it in the year 2000 as well, starting in 17th. I asked Tim Cindric this morning, what do you expect? He said, last year when we started 14th, the first run, we stayed in 14th the entire time as he tries to make a pass there. So he said, I don't expect much in the first run. It's after that first stop. That's when we hope to make up most of our ground.
You know, Townsend and I walked the paddock before the race, and we took a look at all the cars. We went and looked at Power's car, and he has really laid that back wing down, and the school of thought for them was, look, we got to get by, guys. We got to have some straight line speed. But the question mark, when you lay that wing down and get some straight line speed, it's tougher to brake, and you wear the tires hard because you're sliding around more. So Pagenaud and Power have their wings noticeably laid down more than their teammates.
There's give and take always. If you want to gain some top speed, you're going to lose some downforce. You said it, Paul. You not only lose it in the corner, you lose it in the braking zone as well. Scott Dixon, the solid red car at the front of your shot there. Dixon running second right now.
Fanned out a little bit, start saving some fuel. See, we'll watch the strategy as we get to a first round of stops to see if they pull him in early, try to get him some clean air.
Looking for clean air is what all of these drivers are doing. There's Tony Kanaan. He's been strong throughout the season.
This braking section, very bumpy here, all over the curbs right there. It's all rubbered in from all the racing that's been going on this weekend. As they come around this corner, you can see all the rubber as the tires come up to temperature, the steering is going to get heavier and heavier and heavier. And then when you pit stop, get fresh tires and fuel, the car gets really heavy again. Full course yellow.
So here, race control, they said turn 9, so we'll be looking to see what might have brought out the yellow. There's a piece of debris. That's a Honda front wing, I believe. As we see Gabby Chavez in the black car, the 98 up inside of the 41 of Hawksworth. And I'm not sure he was far enough alongside. Looked like he tried to back out, but that's what we saw at St. Pete, guys. Lots of debris from contact. And Gabby's going to have to come to pit lane for a new front wing.
On board with Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Hunter-Reay in 6th. Let's see the start from up top. Is a little bit
a gentle fade, PT, left to right here as we're on board with Hunter-Reay. I don't think they were anywhere near.
On the start, I got hosed.
He said they went way early. way early on the start. I mean, they were nowhere near what's the declared start zone.
There was really not any lineup side by side, and I don't think Hunter Ray was really ready for it. And like he said, I got hosed, and he got swallowed up by a couple of cars, so lost a couple positions.
I don't think he could get ready. By the time that Castroneves was out of the corner, we saw the
extra horsepower, 10 for 20 seconds, so they use that push to pass, and a lot of drivers use it at the start. Ryan Hunter-Ray did not. See the cars beginning lineup single file. There's Joseph Newgarden, who flashes by in the 67.
You will probably see now, Brian, guys, maybe on this last lap before they go green, maybe a couple of guys will take some fuel on board and try to get somewhat off sequence here.
You know, these guys are able to race, able to work so hard because of the dedication of the crew members, but pit lane can be a dangerous place. This is last week at New Orleans. Dale Coyne crew member Todd Phillips, as Francesco Draconi comes in, look to the left of your shot.
And there was a massive puddle at the start of pit lane there, made it difficult for Draconi, but you hate to see that. I saw him quoted as saying, the crew member said, hey, jumping is what saved me. Getting his feet up off the ground, he got cleared out like an NFL tackle. But Robin, you got some more detail on that?
Well, I talked to Todd on Thursday. He was out here, Townsend, and the medical staff checked him out, and they said, you know what, you need to go home and rest for another week because you're not ready to be out in the pits. But he's just sore, and he said, thank God he had a helmet on. He said it's amazing what you can think of in the 3 seconds you're flying through the air.
I was just scary, scary, scary stuff. And we talked about it, though. The safety crew here, the medical crew, they tend to the drivers, but what a lot of fans don't know is they tend to all of the crew members as well. They take care of him. So Todd Phillips in very good hands. He ended up with stitches in his leg, and that's pretty amazing that that is the only injury that he had after such a spectacular incident there on pit lane.
Stunning to think that in Long Beach, not so long ago, there wasn't a pit lane speed limit, Paul. You guys be flying 150 miles an hour.
Look at the takers. Traffic jam.
Looks like Luca Felipe.
Power stalled at the pit entrance.
Luca Felipe in the number 20 for CFH Racing has a problem. Kelly?
With Charlie Kimball not calling for any changes to the car, but they're going off those black onto some scuffed reds. He said their goal was to spend as much time in this race on those alternate tires as possible. It was a clean stop for the 83.
Not exactly sure what Felipe's problem was if he lost drive. You see Takuma Sato.
Go.
Winner here in 2013, making his stop. Reds laid out in the Penske camp for Will Power.
What I'm wondering here, guys, is if the cars went, a few of the cars went into anti-stall mode, if the revs dropped so slow with that traffic jam that it might have kicked Will Power in here with Luca Filippi into neutral to save the car from stalling, and that caught him off guard.
The problem that they have now is they are out of any danger zone, and they might not wait to go. They might go green and before these guys can get restarted because they're kind of out of the way.
Yep, it's a very good point. Crew running down pit lane here at Long Beach, and it is a very, very long pit lane. Hélio Castroneves won here in 2001, 14 years ago. Can he repeat today? Watching the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach on NBCSN. Problems for Will Power with that stack up at the start. Looked like perhaps Luca Felipe had a problem and then everybody stacked up. Last year, Will Power completed every lap of competition, and this year, things just not going his way. An 18th place starting position this year, or here at Long Beach. He had a long way to go and a lot of work to do, and this is going to make it even more difficult. There's the field. You see it from the helicopter. And you saw Will Power leaving pit road.
He almost lost a second lap. Here,
guys, this is Luca Filippi right here. And for some reason, he just stalls coming out of the hairpin. And right here, it's just coasting. And all of a sudden, Will Power's got to check up. I think he thought he was going to get into the tires. And then Will Power's engine stalls. Filippi's still wounded. Everybody else gets around.
This is onboard Charlie Kimball, and you see Will Power to the outside. Car's just crawling. Kevin?
I checked in with the 20 team, and Tim Broyles says that they don't know what happened to Luca Filippi. He just stalled it. They pushed him all the way down pit road, and it restarted immediately. He's back out. Marty?
Kevin just talked to Tim Cindric, and he said he just guesses Will Power didn't catch it quick enough and didn't get to the clutch quick enough to keep the car from stalling out. You guys saw how he's either going to run into the wall or he had to completely come to a stop, and that's what happened to him. I think he did actually lose a lap, so you're correct on that, Paul. He also came to pit road, put on some sticker red tires, so this is going to be a very interesting and what's been a very rough weekend for Will Power.
And this is where he really needs to keep his cool. I said he finished every lap but one last year, or every lap last year. Every lap but one is what he completed. But he was running in every race, so no DNF. So he's got to keep his wits about him here and see what he can salvage from this weekend.
I don't know how he's going to do that. He's going to be furious. He knows his race is effectively shot. It's going to take a miracle. He's going to be on hot red tires coming through a field of cold tires at the back.
See if they can restart better than the initial start. The first laps that Hélio Castroneves has led at Long Beach since 2009. He'll lead another one. The green flag flies. Right, both Castroneves and Dixon go to push to pass.
Castroneves does exactly what he did on the start. Goes to the inside and then fades to the high line to squeeze Dixon a little bit as they go to turn one.
Scott Dixon is hungry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think he wants to win the Long Beach Grand Prix for the first time? He wants that point up front. He wants to control the race and manage his own tires, and the only way to do that is to get in front. Look at that move by Hawksworth down the inside. There was trouble in that corner last year with the same kind of move, so that was a nice move.
Aggressive move by Jack Hawksworth. He didn't have a good run at New Orleans either. Caught up in a problem when James Jakes got sideways on a restart. So Hawksworth trying to find a little redemption for his AJ Foyt team. Bumps in the braking zone down in turn 9, and it's a high-speed corner, much higher speed than you think it is, and then through the hairpin, one of the slowest corners in all of IndyCar racing.
And it really can throw you off, especially if you're a rookie here at Long Beach, the way it stacks up in the hairpin, and you think, I'm right there on the guy's gearbox, and then you come off, and the accordion effect takes over, and all of a sudden you're 5-6.
Then the two of Montoya and Tony Kanaan in his blue number 10 really putting pressure on Ryan Hunter-Reay just in front. And Ryan Hunter-Reay, another driver who is going to be aggressive here on the streets.
I was talking to Hunter-Reay earlier. It'll be fun to watch him on board with Kanaan. Hunter-Reay said, you know, in qualifying, we can get the car neutral for about one lap, but then the rear tires give up. He said in race setup, we've got to engineer understeer into the car to protect the rear tires. So as the day wears on, I believe rear tire wear is going to mean a lot for everybody in this field.
Right now, as we watch Hunter-Reay, he's the lead Honda guy in a sea of Chevys right now. Graham Rahal is the next guy in a Honda. So right now, Chevy controlling the front of the grid, but Hunter-Reay, he's won here before, and he definitely wants to win again.
When you look at the championship and you see how things were affected at New Orleans, both positively and negatively, for James Hinchcliffe with the win. His previous rank in the standings was 16th. He moved all the way up to 4th with the victory there. So it's still early enough in the year that you can get back, get up front, get a victory, and move forward, and you'll be a player at the end of the season.
Speaking of rear tire wear, one of the things we'll watch for, guys, is right now your top 10 runners are all on that softer red Firestone tire. The first guy on blacks is Carlos Munoz in P11. Last year here, about halfway through the stint, maybe lap, 14, 15, you start to see those Firestone reds really wear out, and the guys on blacks have to have an advantage. So we'll stay tuned to see what happens with that wear.
As we watch Sebastian Bourdais, my favorite guy in the field, they are really struggling. If they have any problems in this race, they really have no spare wings left. Sebastian has one. His teammate would have to go to last year's style wings if they have a problem. So they've definitely...
This morning, completely new setup underneath that 11 car, the green machine you see flying by right now. They've tried something completely different. They came here with last year's setup. It just didn't work. They were way off all weekend long, so they've tried to get it back to at least something that Sebastian can drive.
Right behind Sebastian Bourdais, Marco Andretti, the Andretti name, synonymous with victory here, and Andretti holding on to... Did you guys have a favorite car when you ran? Paul, could you tell the difference?
Oh, I won probably 10 races in that car alone. So it's, you definitely have a favorite. It's maybe a subconscious thing, but I just always seem to do better in one certain car.
So Sebastian Bourdais, with a new mount underneath him, runs in the top 10, and he has been quick all weekend long. Charlie Kimball has a problem.
Front wing change. The right front end fence is totally gone from that car. Luckily, they do have a spare down there with the 83 pit.
Clear your
Kimball down and away. See if we can see what happened to Charlie Kimball. Obviously, he had hit something already because the wing must have been delaminating, and you see it just come apart as he gets to top speed down the front straightaway.
Oof. That's no fun.
No.
That winglet would land in another driver's cockpit, which we've seen happen in the past. But you know, he, like you said, he must have touched something to break it. And these wings, the cars are so light now. They've built these cars in the Chevys so light to keep them at the weight limit that as soon as you hit something, you're going to have a problem.
Hélio Castroneves leads from here at Long Beach. A man who's won just about everything, the Indianapolis 500, but he's yet to win an IndyCar championship. What makes the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach so special? It is an event, not just a race. Down on Pine, just up from the racetrack, all kinds of exhibitions, concerts. The fans, they'll find any opportunity that they can to watch this event, from the buildings that surround the pro celebrity event that's here. It is indeed a fan favorite, and you have multiple ways to watch today's IndyCar race. You can watch it online at NBCSports.com, on mobile and tablets with NBC Sports Live Extra. An absolutely fantastic venue. Castroneves up front, but let's take you through the field, brought to you by Toyota, and we'll start with Marty Snyder.
Hélio Castroneves leading the parade through the streets of Long Beach, and the last guy to lead every lap in a Long Beach race, Hélio Castroneves. In 2001 so far today, he's led every lap, and it's nice when you can be out front and save fuel. That's what Hélio's doing right now per the request of Roger Penske. Kelly?
It's been radio silence for Scott Dixon.
And he's not said very much on hum to me. He didn't like it in those first few laps, but right now the car coming certainly to Simon Pagenaud. Behind him, the championship leader, Juan Pablo Montoya. He asked John Boslog his strategies earlier. Should we push or should we save fuel? He said, let's do what the leaders are doing. So right now, Montoya also in fuel save mode. Kevin?
Marty, it's been a remarkable turnaround this weekend for Joseph Newgarden. They were at the very back, both the 67 and the 20 of the practice speeds on Friday. They tried something, it obviously didn't work, so they totally changed the car, and they found speed yesterday to have, and he said, if I just get to the Firestone Fast 6, that's going to be a win, Marty.
Kevin, today Tony Kanaan is making his 12th Long Beach start. That's more Long Beach starts than anyone in this race today. He started 7th. He's running 7th right now. When I talked to him this morning, he said, listen, the Chevys, the little data we have, are using a lot more fuel than the Hondas, so we have to be in fuel save mode all day long if we want to keep up with those Hondas. Kevin?
Graham Rahal is where he started in 8th position. He's got a lot of friends and family here. And there's Courtney Force, his fiance, the funny car driver. Her dad, the 16-time champ, John Force, was just down in the pits a moment ago. So about 65 friends and family in the area here to watch this race today for Graham Rahal, Marty.
And a little battle there. Sebastian Bourdais making the pass on Graham Rahal as he goes inside. The car much better for Sebastian Bourdais. We just talked a moment ago about how much they struggled all weekend long. And what he wanted to do on this first run was just settle in and run. And that's what he's done. Made a pass there for 9th. Kev?
Marco Andretti pretty happy with his car coming into the day today, and he is where he started in the 10th position, looking to find an opportunity. Like so many, he's waiting to try to get to the midpoint of the race and then maybe attack a little bit more after that. Carlos Munoz found something in qualifying. Their goal was to get into the second round in the top 12. They barely did that. He's also
with Chip Ganassi Racing. He told me he just needed a change of environment, change of people, and it's paying off for him this weekend. Behind him is James Hinchcliffe, last week's winner at New Orleans. He said he's been pretty loose and it's getting worse over the curbs, but his goal is just to keep it clean and collect some points this weekend.
Kelly Jack Hawksworth has been able to pick up a couple of spots, despite the fact that he's one of those that took an early.
James Jakes back there in the 15th position. The team just telling him to keep on pushing. He's another driver that told me he knows that if he can keep his wing intact and spend as little time as possible in pit lane, that he can come away here with a strong finish. He was 3rd last week in New Orleans, a strong start to the season for Schmidt-Peterson.
And that is why we have the best pit lane group in the business, the top 15 just taken care of. In detail.
The hardest job in sports. I tried it. I was terrible down there. Great job, guys. Paul, you can save fuel, but if you get caught asleep at the wheel, like Bourdais jumped on Rahal there. There's some guys trying to pick off positions like this guy. Pagano got around Montoya. And let's go back and see it happen. Gets a good draft on the front straight going down into turn 1, and Montoya knows he's got him here. Has to let him go, but that was tight.
Great racing as we ran down the top 15. When was the last time we never mentioned Power in the top 15? So
absolutely. Speaking of Will Power, that was right on cue, Paul Tracy. Will Power on pit road. Marty?
Well, Tim Cindric called him to pit road here. Remember, they started in the back last year. Clearly, they're down a lap, so they have a long way to go if they're going to get into contention once again for this race. But they're going to put on some sticker reds here. Remember, he did not make it out of round 1 yesterday, so they have an extra set of sticker reds from everybody else. Taking a long time on the left rear for Will Power, and he heads back out on the track.
Listen, this is the most frustrating time you can ever have as a race driver when you're down a lap.
Well,
to keep your head about you, keep your head in the game. Look, there's guys that have won from a lap down. Guys like Zanardi have won from a lap down. It can be done.
If they get a yellow now, they'll at least go to the front of the queue and have a chance to race back to the lead lap. But here comes Hélio. He'll put him a lap down again if he can catch him.
Will Power trying to get his Firestones up to temperature, up to pressure. And for Hélio Castroneves, he continues to lead just as he has from the drop of the green. You won't miss a thing. We'll be back to Long Beach.
Back in Long Beach, as you watch from Hélio Castroneves' view, the man right in front of him, his teammate Will Power. If he gets around him, he will put Power down 2 laps. Hélio Castroneves still leading here in Long Beach. And everyone here in Long Beach, the IndyCar community, certainly thinking of our friend Steve Burns, longtime pit reporter for Fox Sports. And today, earlier, we all stood out, all the Penske drivers, Roger Penske and everyone saying, I stand up for Steve. Of course, the race in Bristol this weekend named after our good friend Steve Burns. So we're all thinking about you here, Steve. We love you. We're praying for you, Karen, and your son Bryson as well, hoping you can beat this awful disease of cancer.
Spot on, Marty Snyder, spot on.
Ken, we're at lap 26. I'm estimating maybe around lap 30 they're going to have to come in.
Oh, big slide by Juan Pablo Montoya off of turn 8. Ryan Hunter-Reay with a bit of one, and you see the blue car flash by. That is Tony Kanaan. You ride on board with him right now. Talk about how important family is in motorsports. Take a look at our Chevrolet driver profile. Tony, Lauren, Leo, and the newest addition, Deco Kanaan, and there he is, and thank God he looks like Lauren. Just 3 months old. What a cute kid. Expect Tony Kanaan in about 3 laps into pit lane.
And right now, Daddy's got his hands full. He's trying to hang on there to Hunter-Reay, but he had Smash and Bourdais all over the back of him earlier. You see Scott Dixon and Pagano work through turn 1.
Pagano right behind Dixon. Kevin.
This is one of the first on the 2-stop strategy to come in, and Carlos Munoz is probably going to have to save a little bit more after this stint if we don't get any yellows. Munoz changing to different alternate Firestone reds, gets Sunoco fuel, and here we see James Hinchcliffe coming down pit road.
Hinchcliffe on the reds, Munoz on reds in front as well, and for James Hinchcliffe, they have just not been able to find it.
And the Chevys are just seem to be more balanced, and obviously when your car is balanced, you can get better fuel mileage, as we see.
Joseph Newgarden.
Newgarden coming down the pit lane to Kevin.
Joseph Newgarden at 50 miles an hour. He's been running in the 5th position, picked up a spot from his starting position. We expect to see Ryan Hunter-Reay in shortly as well. They are going from the alternates to primary blacks. Graham Rahal goes by. He's into his pit, just in front of him, and that times out perfectly for Joseph Newgarden. He's away as we watch on board with Graham Rahal, and now Ryan Hunter-Reay also getting a change. So the race off pit road, at least for these drivers, is going to favor Joseph Newgarden, then Ryan Hunter-Reay and Graham Rahal. They've all been running close here in this race.
Interesting that we heard that maybe Chevy was not getting the same mileage as Hondas, but those are 2 Hondas that had to stop awfully early.
It's like I said, when the car is handling well, it's really easy to make good fuel mileage. If you're not handling well, the mileage goes down incrementally.
Well, you listen to the guys in and out of the throttle trying to get the car to turn or whatever, and every time they pat on the throttle, it burns fuel. So you're exactly right, Paul. If it's working, that throttle application can be smooth in and smooth out.
One of the things to notice, of course, we talked about the wear of the red tires. We've really seen no drop off in lap time. The body kits now, year over year, have made a big difference on grip. The reds are the way to go today as Montoya's on pit lane.
And your championship leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, coming down pit road. You saw that pass by his teammate, Simon Pagenaud. He came on the radio after that. He said, hey, guys, can you please let me know who's behind me? I had no idea he was there. He will take off the red tires to put on the sticker primary tires for Juan Pablo. The car a little bit loose, a little bit of change, and a long stop, making sure it gets completely full of fuel, and he leaves pit road. We'll see where he cycles out.
So Montoya out on the primary. Castroneves still on the red. Calling for a good outlap, and that's really where the magic is, guys, isn't it? On a tire without proper inflation, without proper temperature, you've got to be able to lay the lap time down.
Well, this is where it's critical. These outlaps on cold tires will really determine the running order here. He's racing Pagenaud, as we know, so we'll have to watch for Pagenaud's stop where he blends back out. Look at Newgarden. Newgarden's on blacks as well, so he'll be all over Montoya trying to get by coming to turn 5.
He'll be right here in this next corner. He had a good run on the exit there.
Tables turn for Joseph Newgarden. He was the prey last year on the cold tires. Kelly?
Brett Dixon coming in. He said that the car is neutral. He's pretty happy with it. He took off the red. He's going to some sticker black.
The man who's led the entire way, Hélio Castroneves, they will go with scuffed primary tires for Hélio Castroneves. Again, waiting on the fuel. We'll see where he's, he has to wait there for Tony Kanaan. That will cost Hélio a couple of seconds. You see TK pitting as well. He too will go with scuffed primary tires. You saw Simon Pagenaud leaving pit road. He went with sticker primary tires. We'll see if that little bobble on pit road where Hélio Castroneves had to wait on Tony Kanaan will cost him time on the track.
The unsung heroes of this sport are the Todd Phillips, the crew members that are down there on those pit stops, on your knees, changing tires while people are in and out of the pit lane, and that was a close call.
Dixon beat him out of the pits because Kanaan was coming in at the same time, and I think Dixon is ahead of Castroneves now.
Watch how close this is. See the crew member on the left front of Hélio Castroneves. He should have been down and away. He starts descending, and wow, right across the bow of Castroneves.
And the crew member never moved his hand. I think Castroneves
tried to warm his tires up there on his outlap.
Trying to get temperature, trying to get pressure is Simon Pagenaud. Hairpin there on the cold Firestones, looking back.
Now as they run right now, Castroneves and Dixon, well, they're cycling through because these are the guys that have to stop that made an earlier stop.
Gabby Chavez in the black 98. You saw the 7 of James Jakes get out, and there's the 18, Connor Daly, in his very first IndyCar race. Busy pit lane, and Jack Hawksworth in the 41 leads after this last round of pit stops. Things will shuffle out and get back to, quote, somewhat normal as you look at his teammate Takuma Sato, who won here in 2013. No attack, no chance is Takuma Sato's motto, and certainly he is a guy that is exciting to watch, to say the least, and he hasn't had the season that he wanted to this point. Looking down on the circuit, turn 9 at the end of the back straightaway into the horseshoe.
There you get a really good picture of that dark asphalt. Ton of grip for these guys.
Jack Hawksworth out in front, enjoying his first season with AJ Foyt Racing.
Just nice and easy, no mistakes. Here we go.
Just saw the leader, Jack Hawksworth, pit from the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, pitted out of the lead. And don't forget that you can also see the 2015 Stanley Cup playoffs on NBCSN. Up next, PK Subban and the Canadians take on the Senators. And tonight at 10 Eastern, it's Canucks versus Flames every game, every night. Don't miss a moment. How are your Kings doing?
They're in trouble right now. At least one of them.
Leads here at Long Beach. Never found victory here. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. Never been on the podium here.
Dixon get off to a slow start during a championship year, and seems like 3 or 4 races in, all of a sudden he starts to come back. So I think this could be a great day for him. He certainly has the consistency, and the Ganassi team was so strong in New Orleans in dry conditions like this, but that was practice. Look at Pagenaud.
Pagenaud in the yellow one.
Oh!
Yeah, Yeah, that's your teammate. And no, by the way, there's another teammate just behind, Juan Pablo Montoya in the red and
Take care of yourselves, though.
But you said in the pre-show, Paul, we're talking about a 40-year-old pro with Hélio Castroneves. He knows how to do that little subtle fade.
Simon Pagenaud, 30 years old.
And Montoya's got a great run off the hairpin. Let's see what happens down here to turn 1.
Front and so strong here, even without the rabbit ears. Take a look at your Chevrolet driver update. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. I'd say that's a pretty strong run for sure. Dixon up front, we talked about how he needs that result. And 7th, 13th, 14th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Kanan currently in 7th. He wants a victory here at Long Beach. So impressed with Sebastian Saavedra. We talked about that after being out of a race car for so long, but this battle continues.
Paul, I was surprised that Montoya couldn't get a run on Pagenaud, but in the warm-up, Pagenaud was really trimmed out. I'm looking at those rear wing flaps, and it sure looks like Pagenaud is still trimmed out. Montoya picked a high.
He's up now to 2.8 seconds, almost 3 seconds, as we see Hawksworth here, who had led the race for a little bit.
So Jack Hawksworth was in the lead. He's now being shown in 15th. When you come out on cold tires, this is what happens. Trying to stay in front, and there's just no grip with those cold tires, even with the Reds.
I don't think people realize how hard it is. There's no tire warmers in this sport as we're on board with Charlie Kimball. You see Hawksworth up ahead. There's Saavedra trying to force the issue around the outside. And it is so hard, Paul, to keep guys behind you when you have no tire pressure.
The problem you have is when you do a big burnout leaving the pits, you heat the rears, you get to the first corner, and the front tires are stickers and they won't turn. So they're easy to lock, and in the first couple corners, it's real difficult to get around.
Charlie Kimball does his stop, goes to the way, and Graham Rahal, Hunter Ray running 10th, but Graham Rahal wants it. Talk about wanting it. Scott Dixon wants a victory from Long Beach, and he leads right now. 41st running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Can-Am Spyder. Discover riding reinvented. TireRack.com. Find, deliver, install Tire Rack. And by Steak and Shake, home of the original steak burger and proud sponsor of number 15, Graham Rahal. Looking down the back straightaway from turn 9, Scott Dixon out in front. Only the 4th race that Scott Dixon has ever led. James Hinchcliffe.
Here he comes up on Draconi.
He's squeezing him into the wall right there. I mean, it's a fucking nightmare.
I understand there was maybe a few choice words on the radio. I'm not sure Draconi.
On red tires.
It's a bit better. We pick up some understeer when we get really close to Graham through like 4 and 5.
Copy.
It's one of the things that we talked about with this new aerodynamic package. There's so much air going over the car, and the aerodynamic devices creates a lot of dirty air behind, and you run that risk of losing good air over the front wings when you're behind somebody.
Well, it's like Townsend and I talked about, these cars aren't developed one piece at a time. You don't just add this and add that. They're developed as a complete package. So Townsend, you can talk more about how the wings have affected the Chevy. They've developed that car as a
Just go to shophonda.com to sign up and enter for your chance to lead the start of a Horizon IndyCar Series race. No purchase necessary. And if you know Bill Weissman, give him a call and tell you how awesome it is. Looking out the back of Graham Rahal's Honda. Heavy traffic there. 50 laps of 80 in the books, 3 different leaders. You see Coletti coming out of the pit lane.
And that's the first guy to gamble, right? So Coletti's had a tough day, so they're gonna be the first one to make a stop. 29 laps to go. They'll have to be really lean on fuel to make it the end.
But if you go off of history, you look at it, and only twice in the last 20 years has Long Beach run with only 1 caution. So if you take history into account, use that in your strategy, you go, hey, maybe not a bad call.
And here's how Graham Rahal got around Ryan Hunter-Reay. Waited till the last second until Hunter-Reay had to fade out for the turn, and then just dove inside of that DHL car. Paul, you have to be impressed with the drivers behaving. You were so on these guys after New Orleans. I mean, it's amazing. How did they do this one week after the next?
I mean, this is Long Beach. They got to get the job done here. And, you know, Ryan Hunter-Reay was professional there. He's not having a great day. He's obviously struggling with the handling. No point trying to carve a guy up, but when you're running for the lead, like Castroneves.
Pit this lap, I think it's Carlos Munoz. Let's see who ducks in.
Believe so. Graham Rahal really on a charge. No, Ryan Hunter-Reay heads to pit lane. You said Ryan Hunter-Reay not having a good day. Maybe they can get a better race car out of this stop, Kevin.
Yeah, Hunter-Reay has been struggling through this stint. It's on blacks. They've been basically just telling him to hang on. He said 2 different times, I can't get anything going through the hairpin. They feel, though, that the change simply to sticker reds, that's what they have for this final stint, will be enough to get him back to where he can race once again. Sunoco fuel, Ryan Hunter-Reay is way.
Really was done, so that's probably going to cost him another spot.
You know, Paul
Kimball passed Draconi into 1.
We had talked about some of the balance difficulties some of the Honda teams were having. You could see when Hunter-Reay dumped the clutch in the pits there, just the shudder of the wings flapping up and down. I think that has a lot to do with the aerodynamic challenges of the teams figuring out that package.
Hélio Castroneves now
behind, had to pick up the pace. Good job.
2 seconds behind. You hear him say, good job, but you got to pick up the pace.
Tighter than that as they go to the pit lane, Kelly.
James Hinchcliffe coming in. He's asking for a little bit of help. If they can give him some, ask for a half turn of front wing. They're also going to make a tire pressure adjustment. Now you see Sato making his stop as well.
James Hinchcliffe on the way out, searching for balance in the number 5. We talked about it earlier. Balance is something they have not had over the last, well, actually since St. Petersburg, and it's been a struggle. They feel like with 2 teammates, both James Jakes and James Hinchcliffe, they'll get good data and they can make some improvements, but...
The opposite of what Munoz does. If he comes in, you stay out. If he stays out, you come in.
Well, and there's the answer.
I mean, go like heck, man. Go like heck.
Kevin?
Carlos Munoz coming in what should be his final stop. He's been running about mid-pack throughout the day, trying to find an opportunity to make up some positions. He's been chasing his teammate, though, Marco Andretti, much of this stint. Pretty clean stop for Munoz, and the Andretti Autosport driver is back out.
You heard him say to Graham, go, 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 get a lap time in, and that a tenth of a second, 2/10 of a second can make a difference in position after the stop.
That extra lap on hot tires as Munoz gets up to speed for a half a lap. You'll watch him leapfrog ahead as we see Scott Dixon come out of the hairpin. Willie D dives off into the pits.
The number 9 has looked so stable, so stable all day long, very calm on the radio as Dixon heads to his pit. Kelly.
Right in now. Right on
and
the
Scott Dixon saying that he could use a little help in the rear end. So those reds here for Scott Dixon, Marty.
Kelly, Juan Pablo Montoya also coming down pit road. They're going to go to scuffed red tires for Montoya. They've been telling him the entire run, you've been quicker than the guys in front of you. Expect Montoya to be very aggressive on this run.
Go, go.
Kevin?
Joseph Newgarden was running 5th. He makes what should be his final stop. He's got enough Firestone, fire out reds to go back. He slides it out of there and back out in the fight.
Graham Rahal in as well, Marco Andretti, Jack Hawksworth in the red, white, and blue 41. Rahal now away. This is the final opportunity to get the car right if you can.
So Castroneves and Pagano appear to have done the best job saving fuel. When they pit, they'll have the advantage, Paul, of getting out on those cold tires in front as long as they don't have an issue on pit lane.
Yeah, Dixon put the hammer down. He had about a 2-second lead on Castroneves as he comes to the pits now.
Such a long pit lane here, and the slow speed limit, it seems to take forever.
And Marty.
And you see the teammates coming down pit road. Hélio Castroneves will put on scuffed red tires, except for the left rear, which is actually a sticker red tire. You see his teammate right behind him, Simon Pagano, and his car very good on that last one. He too will put on scuffed tires. We'll see where they cycle out. Castroneves with a terrific stop this time. Remember, they lost all that time on pit road. Now let's see where they cycle out with Scott Dixon.
The question is, can Castroneves come out in front of Scott Dixon? Dixon on shoreline, you see the graphic. He goes by there in the lower corner of your screen.
Oh, it's going to be close in one. Dixon on the right in the red. Castroneves, no. And now Castroneves on cold tires.
That wins Scott Dixon the Long Beach Grand Prix.
And now Dixon's tires are up to temp. He will pull a bigger lead now. You can see he's already long gone after 3 corners.
It was a great pit stop by the Penske crew for Hélio Castroneves, but with the cold tires, it's going to be, man, a long road to hoe, and you see Juan Pablo Montoya all over the back of Simon Pagano.
Pagano also on cold tires. If Montoya gets by, it could happen right here. No, yes, he goes for it.
Side by side, Pagenaud has to give it up.
It's a foul.
Wow.
He was going to go for it.
In the final pit stops, you see right here, Sebastian Bourdais hits first, Tony Kanaan in front of him in that blue car. DK said in the middle of that run, I had a big moment in turn 1, but everything is fine now. They've been playing the fuel mileage game the entire time. Sebastian Bourdais behind him in the green car. You see him leaving, terrific stop for the Ganassi guys. Bourdais had a bit of understeer, and they put some wing in and went to sticker red tires for Bourdais. Let's see where they cycle out with the leaders too.
Leaders just came through, and they should blend back in pretty much where they left off. There is no doubt that Juan Pablo Montoya is back. Joseph Newgarden, his tires up to temperature through turn 1, side by side with Bourdais to the fountain. Bourdais struggling on those cold reds.
Oh yeah, this is going to be great here. The next few corners, just like we. And you can hear it, Paul.
And he's, by the time he.
Bourdais got his tires up to something and just could not get it done when the opportunity was there. Ryan Hunter-Reay flashes by as well, but overall it is Scott Dixon in charge, in control from Long Beach. Where is Will Power? Where is your defending Verizon IndyCar Series champion? He's on pit road right now and well back in the order after problems throughout the day. And another problem, a little slow with the fuel probe coming out. For Will Power, he will. There's not a more exciting event on the Verizon IndyCar Series calendar than the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. So much history here, the 41st running of this great event, record crowd on hand this weekend. And I know, Robin Miller, you've been here since shortly after the earth cooled, but tell me about the crowd.
40 years in a row, Brian. Well, Kevin Kalkoven, who co-owns this event with Jerry Forsythe, said this is the biggest crowd they've had in 15 years, and it looks like it going through the paddock because you can't walk. Reminds me kind of the old days in kart when it was that crowded, and it's good to see because this is certainly the crown jewel after Indianapolis.
Absolutely, and just look at the grandstands and expect a great crowd at Barber Motorsports Park. They love their IndyCar racing down south, and hopefully we'll have some great weather, and track always lends itself to some pretty good racing. Will Power has struggled so much. You see him right there, well back in the order in 20th right now, being shown one lap down, and it could be more than that. That man right there, Scott Dixon, continuing to lead. Ganassi looking for another victory here, Kelly.
And Mike Hull calls strategy here for Scott Dixon. Mike, you pick up one position on track, you pick up another in pit lane. What do you think of the performance of this team so far?
Well, the performance has been great, but our guys in the pits always do a good job. Scott does a great job on the racetrack, and it's fun to race at a place like Long Beach.
A couple tough races to start the season. We still got about 20 laps to go, but what would it do for this team to come away with a win here in Long Beach?
Well, I don't know. You know, the thing is our season at the beginning of the year seems to kind of go with what we do here, but we're happy to race here. This is a big-time event, and there's a few laps to go here. What's cool about Long Beach is the end is always exciting, no matter what happens. Where we are right now is a great place, but let's get to the end together.
A great place indeed. Scott Dixon primed to get his first ever win here on the streets of Long Beach.
He's looking forward to it if he can pull it off. And one of the things about the number 9 entry is you've seen him going to go right here. The battle between Hélio Castroneves and Juan Pablo Montoya right behind it. Oh, don't forget Simon Pagenaud lurking there, 3 teammates.
Right now, Paul, it looks like Montoya's got the pace. If he can get by Castroneves, he may be the Penske guy that could track down Dixon.
The previous lap for Montoya was an 8.8 and Dixon at a 9.6. So Montoya is on the move. He wants this position from his teammate. So they're still early in the season, so there's highly unlikely that there's any team rules, but you know, it's always going to be said, don't get into your teammate. You can race as hard as you want, just don't crash into your teammate. The unfortunate thing is I've crashed into my teammate a few times.
Takuma Sato in the number.
We'll have 3 cars, as we said. Alex Tagliani, the former pole sitter, will be joining Takuma Sato and Jack Hawksworth. And don't forget, Sato almost won Indy a couple years ago. Dario Franchitti says he wakes up in the middle of the night and has nightmares.
Announcements this year in the Robert Graham Chevrolet with Dreyer Reinbold Racing. I'm thrilled to be back with Dennis, and I'm going to be excited to be in a
good time watching Vince play last night in front of the Long Beach crowd.
They're having a good time watching this battle. Carlos Munoz in the 26, green, black, and white, right behind Saavedra in the black number 8, putting the pressure on. And then Graham Rahal has a front row seat to watch all of it. You got to be careful not to get caught up in somebody else's problem here, but you've got to be close enough to pounce if they make a mistake.
This is his chance to show well, Paul, and I'm sure he's measuring risk versus reward as he looks to get around Munoz.
There's certainly no question that the kid is very, very quick. He runs well, but then something always goes wrong. But right now he needs to keep his cool, and this will be a great finish for him.
You see Juan Pablo Montoya working his way past Draconi and Juan Pagano will now have to get it done in the very tight confines on the way to the fountain, and indeed he does. Draconi out of the way, and Pagano slides through, but up front, Scott Dixon still trying to hunt down his first victory at the beach. The Premier League continues on NBCSN next Sunday morning at 10:30 Eastern. It's the North London Derby. The league's top two teams meet in a bitter rivalry as Arsenal hosts Chelsea. Weekend coverage begins Saturday morning at 7 Eastern when Southampton hosts the Spurs. What a great shot down at the beach, and you see the aquarium, and around all of that run Indy cars at close to 200 miles an hour down the front straightaway. Always great to come back to Long Beach. I was talking, Paul, you and I were talking the other day. I remember 1990 here when we drove through the parking garage.
Yep. What an incredible race, great crowd. The brake dust coming out of the front brakes of that car. You see that? Some guys were saying that the brakes could be an issue here.
And we're watching Stefano Coletti, who just turned the fastest lap of the race, a 1:08.0. Unfortunately, he's 2 laps down, so he's racing for pride right now.
And he's been impressive, but I'm watching type of an imbalance across the front, even though I don't see brakes locking.
Well, I bet Jimmy Vasser's got his fingers crossed. Not a lot of spare parts left down there after the damage so far this weekend as he comes up on Simon Pagano. They'll be hoping just they bring it home clean. They've got another race.
History here for Scott Dixon. He's trying to break a little bit of bad luck at the beach. His best finish here, 4th. Back in 2010.
That is shocking, as talented as Scott Dixon is over 10 years, to see the lackluster results. He'll put that to bed today if he can hang on.
As we see Scott, he is just a picture perfect.
Scott Dixon looking to end a picture perfect day with a victory from Long Beach. We'll be back to more. Verizon IndyCar Series leading in the championship. Juan Pablo Montoya under attack from his teammate. You saw Scott Dixon, the leader, go by, and look at Pagano in the yellow and white 22. Pressure lap after lap on Juan Pablo Montoya down into turn 1, and you guys were talking about the different aerodynamics.
Montoya's struggling with the additional downforce.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me. Pagano's running less downforce, but he's getting through the corners well. It looks like
closing in, Tony Kanaan hunting them down.
And watch Montoya here.
And manage the pressure from Pagano and pulled away a little bit, got it under control. Pagano might have basically used everything he had. And remember, pull back a little bit, collect it, get the tires cooled off a little bit, make another attack. But like you said, Kanaan is right there, and he's like
out of trouble. Let's see a replay here with Charlie Kimball on board. You see Draconi up ahead, and he's, Paul, that's not the way to let guys by.
Doing everything he can to try to stay out of the way, but right now a problem in the tightest section of the race.
Of Juan Montoya's car going away as Pagano has a look again, but not close enough.
And remember that you've got cockpit adjustable anti-roll bars front and rear, and I'm sure Montoya's got the rear full soft and probably thinking about stiffening up the front, Paul, doing everything he can to keep the rear of the car underneath him.
And Tony Kanaan continues to close.
Go by, but now as he's caught this group, you'll get the washout effect of all these cars, but he will get a big toe down the front straightaway, and he's right there on top of Kanaan as we come to the white flag.
Okay,
white flag, if you got him, use them. And in fact, Montoya, Pagano, Kanaan, they all burn one.
Their bite on that fake from Pagano, one bit. He made it through turn 1. He just has to hold on here, Paul. Conserve the rear tires. Don't let those big oversteer moments happen. And he could come home on the podium.
As we see a big snap oversteer at the apex of turn 4, as we see Scott Dixon well in control. He's bringing it home. Castroneves has closed the gap a little bit.
Further back, we're looking for Montoya and Pagano. There they are, coming through in the same order.
Oh, and Kanaan in the blue 10, a little bit loose off the corner. Pagano does have one push to pass left.
So does Bourdais.
On the button.
Bourdais got one on Kanaan. He's going to burn it right here.
You see the blocking, and Pagano's got to make this as his last chance.
can't get it done there. Can he get it done in the hairpin? There's no way. Montoya will leave it open. Scott Dixon wins at Long Beach for the first time. This battle far from done, though. Juan Pablo Montoya in front of Pagenaud. He's going to hold the position. Bourdais cannot get it done on Tony Kanaan. And Juan Pablo Montoya holds on to the last podium spot here at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. But for Scott Dixon, big, big celebrations. You see Emma Dixon hugs for the team.
Thank you.
And what a job. You looked at that number 9 all race long, hands so smooth on the wheels. Battle still being fought all the way to the checkered flag, but congratulations for Scott Dixon. Talk about battles. Charlie Kimball gets into the back of Takuma Sato off of the hairpin. Sato perhaps out of fuel. Looks like the car stalled coming off the hairpin. Charlie Kimball gets into the back of him.
Sure looks that way for Sato. Under power he is not as he comes across start finish. That's got to be so frustrating. In
place right here at such a historic circuit, the 6th Long Beach victory for Chip Ganassi Racing as Scott Dixon heads in to victory lane. Look at open wheel all-time win. Scott Dixon alone in 5th. That's some pretty impressive company there.
And Scott Dixon will get out of the car. I won this race in Indy Lights. Paul, you won it 4 times in IndyCar. What's it like? I mean, it's like the sunlight.
Open wheel racing in North America, and to win here, you've really done something. As we see Scott getting out of the car, he will cherish this for the rest of his life.
It's going to be a very important trophy for Scott Dixon. Stands on top of the car, and he is exactly right in the conversation that he had with Emma. They've had such a fast car, they just haven't had the luck. Look at Tony Kanaan. Big congratulations, saying, congratulations, buddy. Okay, next year it's my turn.
Probably some discussion of watches or something. I don't know. Tony Kanaan's probably trying to talk him out of a watch, or they're having fun.
Good friends, good competitors on the racetrack. And Scott Dixon, you said it, this is going to be a victory he cherishes for a long, long time. His 36th IndyCar victory.
Well, that marks 36 career wins now for Scott Dixon. He's up to 4th now, Brian.
And that is huge. He wants to win his 4th Verizon IndyCar Series championship, and this is the way you do it. Congratulations down in victory lane for Scott Dixon. You look down at Long Beach, you're watching NBC SN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.